once I bring somebody in who is not ideologically pure, now I am tainted by that person, aren't I? So in other words, once if I bring in, I had it happen to me. I brought in actual communists to talk with. And the second I bring, why are you platforming the communists? People don't like me talking to you. Why are you platforming her? Right? People like me talking to. I brought on a police officer last week who was all about, qualified immunity is a terrible idea. Liability insurance for cops is a terrible idea. We have enough training. People didn't like that either, right? I mean, they didn't, but I wanted to bring that up because there are people who believe all of these other things. I don't think that police officer was a bad person. I don't think he believed he was a bad person at all. I think he believed he was doing a great job, trying his best. This is what he believed. I didn't agree with his thought process. But so how do I do that without people saying, Larry, you're a bad guy? You've got to keep all the pure people around you. Otherwise, you'll be tainted by the evil.
I think that, I mean, why are we letting the outrage addicts run the asylum? I guess would be my question. Is like, I mean, people are always going to say things. People are saying lots of things about me in the chat right now that have no basis in reality at all. Are we going to allow these people to be running the asylum and dictating how we show up in the world? I don't think that's a good idea. And I think that, I think someone running for like a high level, and I'll go to president because it's like, you need to have that certain charismatic something to run for that type of position. It's like, it has to be someone like a Donald Trump that can block everything out. And that is actually a very narcissistic tendency, is to be able to block out all of the negative feedback and only give yourself positive reinforcement. But that's what you need in order to be able to succeed in this environment. Listen, I will never run for office again. I fake ran for governor, and that was the most miserable experience of my life. And I will never, ever, ever do it again because I don't want to deal in that world. But if someone has the wherewithal to deal in that world and wants to be the person that goes out there and articulates the message of the Libertarian Party, you know what? They should just go and do it and surround themselves with the best possible people that are going to challenge them and keep them humble and guide them and be able to create great marketing materials for them, like hire Dan Smots immediately because he is like the master, and just like do what you want to do and run your campaign. And who really cares whatever everyone says and what everyone thinks? Because if we're constantly, this is like basically the number one rule in my book about like actively unwoke, the ultimate guide for fighting back against the woke insanity in your life. You don't bend the knee to an outrage mob. Right? The outrage mob is always going to be there. They're always going to be complaining. They're always going to say, we have receipts that don't actually exist in real life. And if you bend the knee to them, then you are allowing them to rule you. We're libertarians, Larry. We don't want anyone ruling us.
I agree. What bothers me most about this, the point that bothers me most is when any outrage mob attacks, it always ensures that the weak people get crushed.
Yeah.
Right? The elites always win because, for example, I'll give the example of comedians. If you're Dave Chappelle, it doesn't matter what someone says to you. You're uncancelable. You're Dave Chappelle. If you're Bill Burr, you're uncancelable. You don't care what people say. They can call you names, whatever they want, threaten to cancel you. No, you can't. You're uncancelable. You're powerful. You're some up and coming person. You're cancelable. You can't pay your rent. You can't pay your mortgage. You can't pay your car note. You're in trouble now, right? And that's the part that if you're Joe Rogan, you can't be canceled. Right. It doesn't matter what you say. Who cares, right? But you're some smaller person like me or you. There's a chance you could actually hurt us. But I think there's a special piece though, and that is your point. How do you become uncancelable? And by the way, my daughter told me this, and she's like a teenager. She said, the people who don't get canceled are those who just don't accept it. Mm-hmm. And I was like, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Just don't accept it. And you're not canceled. Why? Because I said so. That's it. That's all that it takes. So I'm a person who, as a general rule, when I get attacked, I tend to acknowledge it. I tend to. Even the horrible things. I remember one that specifically affected my campaign. In 2018, when the Republicans saw that I was making impact, they literally made up stories to say that I was anti-cop, even though my father was in law enforcement, that I was anti-gun, even though I was rated A by Gun Owners of America, that I was a Cuomo plant, that Cuomo planted me, and that was, even though that's, I wish it were true. Where was my money? Cuomo, you owe me some money. I wish that was true, right? They said all those things. And what did I do? I literally, I put it on my own social media. I used it as a way of growing. And I think they immediately stopped. They did that once and stopped, and did it again. Once I absorbed it and said, no, I'm in, they kind of stopped. I think that's kind of true. I don't know. What do you think on that one?
Yeah, I have a whole chapter in my book actually about like what to do when you get canceled, because if you're messing around with like the left, they will eventually cancel you, but the right will cancel you too. I've been canceled actually far more by the right than I have been by the left.
Yes.
And so neither side is innocent here. But no, I think you do have to make yourself uncancelable. And I absolutely agree with you that the first step to making yourself uncancelable is never to allow yourself to be canceled. No one can ever prevent you from speaking. Even if you get deep, like Nick Fuentes is deplatformed more than anyone in the universe. He still speaks. He speaks all the time. Like, I mean, and he actually, like, him being deplatformed has actually allowed him to build an audience that he probably wouldn't have had they not just left him alone to say crazy stuff on the internet, right? But I do also think there is another really important piece of this, in that, when I teach in my book, I have deliberately set up like 7 different streams of revenue. So it's like I can make money in any number of different ways. I have my YouTube channel, I have my Substack, I have my locals community, I have private consulting that I do, I have et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's actually really important when you're talking about becoming uncancelable, because if they get me on one revenue stream, I have 6 others. Like it might hurt me in a temporary sense, but it's not going to hurt me in like a permanent sense. And I think that's the number one fear that I think most people have, is like, I'm going to lose my job. Well, guess what? You can always get another job, and you should probably have a side hustle started already if you haven't started one yet, because having a side hustle is going to set you up to truly be free. Because if you're working for someone else, you're not really free at the end of the day. And so I think that people just need to be smart about how they're setting up their lives. And there are so many platforms now that give you a lot of times for free the resources to start a business. You can even start, like, I started a merchandise store. I don't have any inventory for merchandise. I do everything print on demand. There are free resources that you can do right now to do this. So you have to take advantage of the resources that are out there for you to become uncancelable. And it's not a matter of just like snapping your fingers and it's going to happen overnight. You have to get up every single day and work for it, right? Yeah. But once you achieve it, you would never go back to being a slave to someone else.
Well, it's funny you say that, right? I was talking about my daughter recently, and I said, do you want to work for somebody? Mm-hmm. Do you want to have a boss? She said, no, I don't. I said, okay, that's great. I said, some people actually want to work for somebody. They want to work for a boss. They don't want to make decisions. They're okay with it. Some people want that, and they're going to find their joy or their someplace else, right? The work is just to pay their bills. They're going to find their purpose and their work someplace else. Okay, I get that. I said, so if you don't want to have a boss, no worries. Do you want to do the traditional marry some rich guy? She said, no. I said, okay, great. That's good. I'm not judging you if you want to do that. 100%. You do you, right? If you want to go marry some rich guy, totally fine. But she's like, no. I said, great. Then you have to find a way to make money on your own. That's it. You have 3 choices in life, right? 1, marry rich. That is an option people take. 2, work for somebody. Accept that you're going to have a boss and accept that as your life. No worries. Also true. Or go make some money. Those are your 3 choices. That's all you got. Yeah. So I really think that my daughter hopefully got that. I hope she did. I agree with you completely. Side hustle is important. Trying to find ways of building value is important. All things that are important. Unless you've decided I'm okay being reliant upon others in that regard. Yeah. As long as it's your choice, no issues whatsoever.
And there are a lot of reasons, like you said, that people would want to be reliant on others and just have a normal kind of day job. It's significantly less responsibility than working for yourself. 100%. It's a steady paycheck, like insurance, like all those things. And so I'm not poo-pooing that, but I started my organizational psychology practice when I was commuting from New Hampshire into Boston, which is like a heck of a commute. But there are a lot of people who do it. There's a bus that goes down every morning, comes back every night. And so I was literally spending between 3 to sometimes 5 or 6 hours a day commuting between New Hampshire and Boston. But guess what I did when I was on that bus? I set up my side hustle and I worked on my side hustle and I built it over time. And over time, that allowed me to go full time with that so that I didn't have to commute into Boston anymore. And like, anyone can do this, but people just need to believe in themselves and know that all of the resources are there to do it.
I love it.